January 30th, 2009. The ghost of Bradley Noel serenaded me through my high-tech digital device, which he never imagined. And my sights were stinking sidewalks along palm trees, fast food, liquor stores, fisheries, neglected mangrove swamp, and faces of fidelity walking their dogs. I thought about my familial rights. The outlook of a kid growing up in false wealth, TVs, computers, abundancy of stuff, into a new depression where money only flows underground. I thought about Bradley's crooning as I circled the veranda motel, killing time. Is there desperation everywhere? I decided to visit Nathan at his house, since I was in the area and Janine wasn't coming back till 6:30. She got arrested and now has to take classes at a detention center. Nate answered the door, munching down on a log of cookie dough. His mom was very hospitable and talkative as usual. Is she truly clueless or in big denial about her anarchist 1.0 GPA son, who knows at least his room is clean, even if there are shotgun shells and an empty bottle of Crown Royale on his shelf? We had to keep quiet as he collected his contraband. I hate pretending, even if I'm good at it. Nathan's life is scaffolded with lies. I am not always entirely honest with my parents, but I will tell them necessary truths so I may be trusted. So we rode around the neighborhood on our aluminum bicycles, lifted them over a fence, crossed through somebody's borderline property. There were little girls playing in the backyard that shouted at us, "Get off our property, hippies! Ugly shoes! Obama sucks! Bye!" We tried to smoke at the park, but he kept nixing on me. Paranoid, hearing car honks. Eventually we scooted over to Janine's new place. She lives with her dad now, who seems like a grumpy guy. Daniel's there to lighten the mood with demented jokes. Man, Libby's getting big. She's standing, babbling and teething. I'm not used to interacting with babies, but I tried to keep her attention by making faces, talking enthusiastically, and pointing to things. Cute kid. We left her with the grumpus for a while and sneaked out back into the shed. The four of us sat in darkness, then Daniel illuminated the pegboard by lighting a joint. I sat on an inflatable raft as we passed the duchy, whispering like Franks in an attic. They shared stories about failing classes and getting arrested, nothing I'm familiar with, fortunately. Nathan has more in common with Libby's parents than I do. Somehow, although Janine and I were born on the same day. I don't think racist jokes are funny, ever. Anyway, I headed home shortly thereafter, hotboxing the tin shed. I rode home through a town I didn't recognize. Everything looks different, lit up orange, framed by tired darkness. I like living in a place where the majority of residents go to sleep at 9 o'clock. Although I could do without the snowbird traffic in the morning. I hope Sarasota isn't too dangerous in the dark hours, since it's my favorite time to wander. I'll be living near low-income housing, yet if I go walking in the streets I will probably scare people who think it's a ghetto. People get mugged more in downtown St. Pete, where I padded around barefoot at 2 a.m. that one time. What makes a person so intimidating? Looking strange? Being solo? Or in a gang? Wearing baggy clothes? How can I frighten the boogeyman? Maybe I'll carry around something heavy like a big flashlight. So practical at night. Or I'll grow a beard. One day. Is flannel scary? I want to be as approachable as possible in the daytime, though confidence frightens some people, but it attracts most. I'll dress like a nerd so the police overlook me. Maybe. What's not suspicious? Sweater vests and collar decorations? Long hair won't profile you like long hair won't profile you like it used to. Now it's tie-dye and naked feet. Perhaps patchwork jackets and comfortable trousers. I'm probably not going to buy grass when I go to college. Laugh, but I'm serious. Anyway, but I just don't want to be bothered. My plan is to become a busy bee that studies each night and heads out to network when it's convenient. Ringing is not a party school. If I ever wanted to go to a party or ingest some psychedelic chemicals, I would walk across the road to New College. That's right. I know I'm thinking ahead, but let's examine my needs and wants for living on campus. Definitely take fitting clothes, shoes, bedding, bicycle, books, pillows, art supplies, file cabinet, etc., 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 etc. Friday night characters. After a game of phone tag, I realized we had the opportunity to hang out somewhere new. Lee's house on the farm. I rode my bike there with ease, taking the newly finished 4-lane road to Pine Street. Some little flat-faced dogs chased me down the Lee's driveway. Funny how I would have been scared if they were larger. So, as if we waited for more people to show up, Lee showed me around the property. From the smelly pig pen to the cow field where our eyes spied our intrusion, to the junk piles and electric fenced areas. When we came back to the house, Lee's pink-faced hillbilly of a father was waving around a cap gun and mumbling about the bulls fightin'. We quickly retired to the kitchen upstairs, where his mom was making eggs and hash browns at 6 p.m. She was generous to make toast and eggs for me, but it was difficult for her to understand why I didn't want any butter. Tyler and Allie arrived, and we took another tour of the yard, careful not to step in the cow pies. As darkness fell, Lee's dad made our other appearances, told us about getting beat on, stepped on, and kicked in the shit by a large bovine. "I was calling out for you, Lee. Boys next door thought I was dead for sure." He was painfully funny, but I tried not to laugh. We decided to have a fire out by the woodshed, and with a little help from Lee's dad, it started up fast. We just stood back as he haphazardly dumped gasoline on a stack of pallets, reprimanding Lee whenever he tried to help. Eventually he was calling Lee a turd and said we were all a bunch of sissies. Lee's response had to be defensively sarcastic. "Dad, I just love you so much." As strangely hilarious every piece of dialogue was, I sensed an underlying dysfunction darkness. The fire became hellish, so we stepped back and discussed our plan to acquire the goods from our skint of choice of vendors. Lee's drunken dad went to sleep. And so we split up to purchase a dozen bottles of America's finest Sam Adams brew. With some help from Daniel, and later Austin would show up with his entourage, yielding such fine green weed. Quite a deal. Nobody had to spend more than they would have liked to for anything, and the heat was free. Marley tunes poured out from the shed. As more arrived, Zach, then Clay, and even Derek. Louder still, and more jolly. Clay took me aside, as they hammered and yammered, to tell me about his fresh circumcision. I like surgery. And then I pushed around flaming pieces with a shovel, listening to all the party talk. At the end of it all, Lee put out the fire, while I carried chairs back to the house, only to notice a mischievously placed Halloween decoration, an amputated foot in the dirt. Dear Lord. It was fun to ride home on such a warm night. June 6, 2009. I am feeling positively pensive again. Earlier I shared a film with Dean and his dad called The Esoteric Agenda, which began as a review of topics we've been discussing all week. The duality of nature, methods of control, the ruling elite. It ended with a call for responsibility and the freedom to embrace all aspects of existence. Overloaded with information, Dean paused the DVD occasionally to sort thoughts and share his reactions. At first fearful and angry toward the decisions made by our leaders, toward the world for allowing injustice to flourish. However, by the roll of credits, Dean's disposition had changed. He'd reached a realization of love. Love lay enemy. He removed the padlock from around his neck and opened himself to give me a hug. With carefully chosen words, he told me that he felt sorry for ever hating anyone and for building walls. I smiled, proud to hear my young companion unlock the truth of collective consciousness. He seemed to glow inward. As I neared the living room to leave, compassion poured after. I gave my thanks. Empowered by the stars, I wandered home by bicycle. The night felt calm, yet responsive. I am certain that we are all part of one another, as Gene Clark repeats. Dean and I stare up at the same shining lunar orbit tonight. I will be with you always. March 11th, 2010. Come back to the center. Temporal pleasures are my bane. Forgotten breath and submission cause my pain. My pain is the world's pain. A world of fear seeking comfort, remaining insecure without certainty or a promise of reward. Fear of failure prevents ever taking flight. Let's look at priorities. I bask in the warmth of kinship, remaining open and forgiving of their shortcomings. They supersede my deadlines this week. Why? They are ever changing. Here today I learned so much about myself from these interactions. I discover what I admire. Readers, risk-takers, artists, planners, storytellers, curious and objective, and what I find repellent. Excuses, complainers, ego, flakiness, over-apologetic, unapologetic, hedonist, hurry shit-talkers. These qualities vary in everyone, and as I come to recognize their manifestations, I will better take on qualities that I respect and trade in others. This awareness will be a guide throughout my life. I should remain aware, turn any experience to a lesson, in one aspect of an interconnected series of events, and most importantly, apply what I've learned. Please be trustworthy to yourself first. Dismiss nothing as useless. Follow your bliss. November 2008. I would like to recall a Saturday night. The air was still and cold. Although I hadn't planned to show myself, I dressed in layers eagerly when I was summoned. Lee and Zach arrived to take me away. They had a dilemma. Beer-thirsty folks at home and no connections. Danny's got back pain. Jared's at the hospital because Kaylee had an asthma attack. I suggest popping in on Daniel. And so we find a solution. Daniel is overcooked as usual, but willing, since he doesn't get to leave the house much. We acquired boxes of Blue Moon and returned a tiempo. I walked slowly into the darkness of Zach's new backyard. The first faces I saw were Brett, Dean, Tyler, and Allie, by firelight. The pit had been dug proper and fortified with landscaping rocks. Well done, boys. Caps popped and dropped into abyssal shadows, while I wrestled with wires, so we may enjoy the sounds of Gene Clark. I accidentally mix up the birds and the yard birds. We laugh and smoke until it's time to refuel the fire. I follow Brett into the dark, grassy lots and feel around for sticks and branches. Every time we came back with something. I love the fire, as it snaps and consumes more and more wood. One should never leave a fire unattended. So Brett stayed behind when I bowled past moved to the garage. I joined the crowd for a bit, some good laughs, at Lee's song, Suckin' the Devil's Stick, and a mind full of matter. When I left to join Brett, he was listening to La Cucaracha. Specifically, awesome. Dean Ween ought to be hailed supreme. Alas, the best never get the credit they deserve. Suddenly it's a jam. Dean stays out with the fire for a moment, and I get a chance to time the Nomad's set. They blow me away with their freshest songs, Paleontology, Corn on the Cob, and a jam I never heard before, Tighter, Brighter, Nomads of the Nook, Live On. Then Nick and Mary showed up with Cosmic Brownies. Friends accumulated around the dancing flame. While Lee, Zach, and Nick left for a beer run, Clay came around. He was still smoking cigarettes that he bought on his 18th birthday. Lucky Strikes, Cloves, and Chacos. Soon he was in charge of music, so we heard Ariel Pink, John Mouse, Woody Guthrie, Leonard Cohen, and more. We gawked at bright stars, contrast, and trekked into the woods once again, with an axe, no less. Do you think the security camera saw us? The fellows returned with a bottle of sangria, which tastes so sweet. I must mention that the wine was free. Apparently some kid made a grocery list of alcohol he wanted them to pick up for him. Rum and coke. Included gas money, which was thought of as free vino dinero. No liquor stores are open past 10, so the kid was disappointed to get a bunch of Bud Light instead. C'est la vie. Back at the camp, transmissions of the fire triggering his seizures. Transmissions of the satellite heart. Daniel mumbled about fire triggering his seizures, with his head on Janine's lap. Frankie came around, and he was quiet for the rest of the night. He didn't stay long enough to see the fire go out, but I did get to see Tim and Mo dressed in winter coats. What was on their minds? Farewells and sweet goodbyes, then stretched street light illuminations, deflation, relaxation. I read some of Michael Lewig's Goat Person, and then I slept soundly. July 23rd, 2010. On a plane to Frisco, my thoughts are reoccurring. I feel the pain melt away in a distant guitar and piano memory of wooden smoke. My own words burn, are best forgotten. Now that I've learned, I shall not condemn. I shall not judge a beloved friend, or suffer the burn of words. A realm of hell brains. How petty now. A drop in the ocean, Jim says. Now that I'm entering another world, waking into oblivion, then sleeping aright, with a busy stomach, these fingertips are sore and peeled, neck muscles stiff, thighs solid as earthen clay, an unmovable, suffering mass. How I atone to thee! Yet my spirit is present, pulled in and out of aching form. I shall not be a floating brain riddled with ugly neurosis, arguments, or guilt. I will come back to the body, feel every surface with its unique friction. I survived Las Vegas airport. Despite my restless faux hunger, what is the feeling? Escape? Flight? Thought virus. Ruffling bags sound like food. Photographs make us drool. Names of coffees beg for selection. I chose whole food, figs and cashews, and desperately chewed an abandoned pizza crust that only I can appreciate amongst the hurried Type A cowboys and Americans with $20 one-serving receipts. I will think about poetry in Frisco, because I intend to stay active as a summer bee student. This is no escape, more like an excursion. Sunlight is at that magic angle right now. The Rockies are flattened. They're flattered by deep blue shadows. I hope I remember to pray. La illa illa la. Smell that air. What is Americana? Is it the wonder of leaving a swamp to cross a desert and land on another coast? Is it bewilderment or celebration? The choice of our pride? What is Americana? June 2nd, 2009. Today I received my high school diploma and thought it looked smaller than I had imagined. I didn't attend the graduation ceremony in Punta Gorda. My friends who did assured me that I didn't miss anything, except for obnoxious hecklers and music designed to make saps cry. Instead, I got a ride with Dean to see a show in Gulfgate. Electric Speed Bump were headlining, and demonstrated kick-assery as usual. Only we had to watch them through the glass storefront because the bar was checking IDs. So we ate at 420 Munchie's Cafe and sat around the dumpsters out back where musicians cracked their jokes and unloaded shiny equipment. I was glad Dean was there, to spill my thoughts to. As my fellow underage sprite, even though I'm legally an adult, I have to wait another 3 years to go to any concert I want. Tim and Mo wanted to take me to see Bogus Pomp this week, but alas, I'm still too young to see people drink beer. Yet 18 is old enough to spend a night in jail. Recently, Tyler was pulled over in Charlotte County for going a few over the speed limit. Normally this would mean a warning, but because Tyler has long hair and the cops were itching to utilize their new K9 unit, they subjected him to a search. Unfortunately, he didn't realize that he'd left a one-hitter in the car. Of course, the dog sniffed it out, and soon Tyler was handcuffed and stuffed into a plastic back seat of a police car. Allie told me that his bail bond was $2,000. Money had been tight even for Ty's family, but the system is designed to make profit off of unlucky kids deemed criminals because they smoke weed. This offense expo, oh goodness. Like family again. Brett back in town for good, reclined with an acoustic guitar, strumming Chocolate Town. I smell cigarettes burning by Tim, Mo, and Zach at my side. He has a scar on his forehead that looks like a lightning bolt or a perfect Z. Lee's leaving for DCI on Tuesday. Mo decorated his fanny pack with a sweet tiger patch and a koala cell phone cozy. I laughed heartily and enjoyed the passage of events. Even after Tyler told his tale, we remained cheery. That night I realized, yeah, I love the heck out of my life. My poor decisions in the past cannot hurt me now, because I take responsibility for all of it. There's no reason to burden myself with something dumb I said, or an impulsive bit of spending. I must change for the better and take life as a fantastic game. How could I ever gain experience points without challenges? Every moment is as unique as the people I meet. So much of my struggle is based on an illusion. Ego and taking things too personally. Only the ego is damaged. My consciousness is safe and only expansive. No more mental slavery. If I plan on transitioning further, I must harvest courage and strength, mainly spiritual strength. This summer I should nourish an aspect with reading, thinking and chanting. I must learn to conquer my fears, embrace unwanted emotions, and control my mind. Not let my fears control me. It's just a ride, after all. I should live as a conscious vessel for manifestations of love, to be overflowing with appreciation, well-wishing, and never ignore pain, but rather stare down my problems until they cower, as they are trivial in their true nature. Finally, I will look toward the heavens for solace, and inside every dream for inspiration. December 8th, 2009. I still bite my nails, even though all stress has subsided. At the moment, I'm enjoying an unexpected week of rest. School is in for 3 more days, but I haven't procrastinated. All my dues are met, and I have the pleasure of aimless walks with a quiet head while my classmates lose sleep. I feel that I'm getting the hang of this game. One day I meditated beside a shallow pond yonder the magnificent courtyard at the Ringling Museum. I confronted my fear of change, becoming an adult and leaving my comforts, and realized that uncertainty makes life exciting. No need to worry. It's a game. Work and play are different perceptions of the same rules. Stress can be useful if it's controlled. Ya Nor. Breathe in light. Dispel fear. Embrace growth. I figure that the way to maintain balance, avoiding the insanity that so many students resort to when the pressure is on, is to remember to stop, breathe, and watch the storm clear. Stillness or exercise are antidotes to mental exhaustion. Optimism helps too. That said, I'm looking to a bright future in this infinite present. There are signs of change, unstoppable time marching on, yet always beyond my material world, somewhere deep inside, there is a witness to all this evolution. It does not change. I am just beginning to acknowledge the God's eye view. What have I seen myself see? I nearly had a transcendental experience at Art Basel, losing myself in the rush of images, connections, feelings, pure visceral reaction to the never-ending maze of displays. Okay, perhaps it was something entirely different. Hard to relate meditation to Art Basel, except that I certainly felt inspired afterward, albeit overstimulated. My impression of Miami was a metropolitan art mecca, and we pilgrims had to survive haphazard traffic and mine the concrete and shipyards to find the center. Monica, barefooted and opportune, became leader. Chris, wry and shy, and his boyfriend Ross, the keen observer, made the party. We had to stay alert as not to separate and get lost in the convention center. So as I zoned into mysterious work, I had to snap out of it. It and on the move with the group, overwhelming, impressive, and perplexing. Long rides in the dark night. Later, she would leave me hanging, dressed for action, on the last day of the semester. Maybe it was for the best that I stayed in my scholar's cell, sitting aright at midnight, reading motivational books, time management, Yokoyama's Da Vinci's Curiosita, instead of mingling for uncertain chemicals. The next day, I breathed in dust and took a nap in a carefree existence. Break begins. Monica comes to Inglewood to sell knives to my mother, who can't afford to buy anything with debt on the mortgage, and sits in natural sand with my clan. Like when I saw her family's home, decked in wood, equipped, organized, and realized where she'd come from, she could make sense of me through brief exposure to this town, where birdsong can be heard and the streets are dark at night. One time, Clay and I walked out to the skirts of the rec center. He was very positive, glad to have friends at home in 2 locations. I drank a Bloody Mary out of a red party cup, brought it into a familiar restaurant, once the Frosted Mug. There were women wrapping presents. Clay's phone kept singing, "I'm walking on sunshine, whoa." And when Clay left, Brett came round. I gave him a jacket with deep pockets. He is easygoing, sober, and informative. He gives synopsis of books that I'd like to read, but never will. We disappear into the shadows between far spaces, street lamps on elm. I am immune to the cold, a responsive ear, a stargazer. Brett is respectable. I feel so fortunate for such quality time. A question: is our identity only valid because of recognition by others? What are the properties of the astral plane? On a different night, I let myself partake in cheap wine before I learned of sulfites, and revealed empathy for his drunken side as well. I also understood how alcohol can break down social barriers. That night I wrote down my departure. I honestly must get going, so, I confess, extending my open hand to Brett first. He approaches, sour-breathed from shotgunning a beer, tender-hearted, and melted down to his core. He slurs, "Fuck that," and invites me into a full embrace. I stumble, focus all of my being into the pressure of our squeeze, earnestly. Then I hug Zach, who is equally intoxicated, while Nick takes his turn wrapping arms around Brett as if they were lost brothers. I sense a mutual honesty among the fellows, a revelation of their usually defended sensitivity, a shameless confession of underlying truths. Eventually the music gets fuzzy. Blood flows on. Even if my friends can be losers, I do love them. I just detest hedonist philosophy, if that's the name for instant gratification, with intentional disregard for health or ethics or humility. It looks like a morose future. I know that the future doesn't exist, but I do see degradation occur in our real time. My fellows fall into pride and apathy, or perhaps I've only begun to see clearly, as they blur their vision deliberately. I strive for lucidity, clearance of skies. I'm trying to be a person I would respect. Moments of weakness occur daily, but I recognize them. Sooner or later I'll be able to find happiness in discipline, and make choices not under the animal urge or childish whim, but autonomously, not automatic. Purpose, responsibility. Let not time restrain creativity. May I use it wisely, and observe time as a construction itself. The structure may be intimidating unless you know how to use it. How do I experience time? That windy, watery day at Stump Pass with Frank, I tried to run from time. No avail. I had to face my fears, and then I laughed because I could see that I was afraid of something imaginary. Nightmares seem real until you wake up. So I laid in a moist mattress of sand, became a growth on its surface, and became the sky. Patches of deep blue behind tunnels of air, diamonds of water. A dragon, I said. It's a cross between the liberated flight of birds and the serpent who is glued to the land. Frankie would swear that for a little while we were sharing the same thoughts. No need to even speak. Isn't this where I found that incredible sea slug? It was split in the middle, appearing injured upon first inspection, as its body opened to view of the sac-like organs, an internal soft shell. Yet it could control this opening by retracting purple wings, which made sense once I submerged the gastropod mollusk in salt water. Beautiful when I see such amazing designs, designoids in nature. I want to praise them loudly, in wordless singing and delighted vibration. I stared at his wrinkled hand at sunset, feeling that unmistakable languidity. Is that a word? I yawned, smiled, and said, "I'm so glad we've devoted our lives to learning." June 12th. It wasn't just a dream, I announced upon waking. There is bliss among us in this tame wilderness. It seems as though we've left all anxiety, impatience, and compulsion behind. The drive was fast, with a modest lunch at Ocallan truck stops. We saw a sticker that read, Truck stop, America stops, which made me wonder if anarchy can stop traffic for good, or at least a few holy moments of peace. The sounds of the forest are mysterious music. Sometimes it sounds like it's all in my head, but I suppose so are most things. Nick is a grateful companion. He does not use force, and he is satisfied with little, as I am learning to be. Besides the campsite at Payne's, the only money we've spent was a donation to a group of feminists for a movie showing. Emerging into the dark, we stepped through a city shaped by the youth. CDs, LPs, laser pub, $1 clothes, cheap eats, bookstores, with ease. I laughed and laughed, reminded of how stagnant it is in Sarasota in comparison. There are wonderful sights, even in the city of Gainesville. May I always be a little hungry, and never empty. It is truly about facing the moment, and especially conservation. I am not eating as if I have to clear out the stocks in 15 minutes. No rush. No need. Eat half and save the rest. You think that you want it right now, but think again. The imagination is powerful. I resisted free snacks, gas station fodder, and even a ripe mango. I shed a sudden desire for booze and psychoactives. I am here breathing, and I shall not disappear today. Divine patterns, natural pantheon firelight befall of mankind. Knowledge is on the air. Mysterious symphony slumber, burnt skin on the water, dagun tube daddies, wood and mortar marriage, humble corner nannies, rising throats of lovers, pledge allegiance, Calusa Trail of Tears, ghost town refugee, speak of hidden slavery. August 11th, 2009. Wishful thinking, wishful living. Following the laws of physics, rolling past bright green tropical scene, soaking up sunshine, hearing that familiar melody, and leaving my troubles behind, I lean back to see clouds billow, clutch my handlebars and think, this is blissful. No question. Despite the heat, exertion, pollution, the world is filled with so many great things, we all ought to be as happy as kings. Here are reasons that I am grateful. My body is well nourished, more flexible than ever before. I can spring out of bed in the morning and fall asleep at night. My skin is darker, my eyes are sharper, my feet are muscular, my limbs are leaner, etc. I am changing. I feel assured by my creative ability. Always on the brink of something new, I assimilate. My past and its influences. Ideas are fish in the sea. My ambition to be an artist is a vessel which will deliver me to wondrous lands. I begin college this month. This community of friends, allies, near and far, is certainly a blessing. Pen pals, schoolboys, grown, jovial neighbors, fresh-brained youngsters, seasoned storytellers, smiling visitors, people enrich my life with a variety of experience, tendencies, curious, conference, connections, and information. They inspire me deeply. October 5th, 2009. Some time ago, the weather changed. I walked out of the cove into cool air with a nostalgic scent. It reminded me of long outings amongst the trees. The sun felt benign, filling me with grace. A yearning returned, bittersweet musical feelings about the wind, and a certain fellow, pressed against a window on the 5th floor, watching trendy Lilliputians and their shadows. I focused on Friday wishes. I knew I would see Clay that night. He would come from Orlando to Inglewood. I missed him dearly, despite our consistent connection on the net. My dreams inspired a lust for flesh, but more so a magnification of enamor to be fed with certain songs. I felt I had to escape, and thank you, Dad, I did. I left my room in stray disarray, packed quickly and arrived on Langsner by 6:30 p.m. I spent an hour meditating on my summer bed, burning incense as the sun did go down. I tried stopping the thoughts, then mantras, chanting, and finally I kneeled with my head down to wish for compassion. Afterward, I became a beacon of good vibes. It was a full moon when I set out to Zach's new place. Last time I was there, I was greeted by Jim, "Hey, girl," and I wanted to leave. So I ditched to Dean's, where brown smoke, folks, tunes, diatribe, and dogs live. This time, I was in the right place. Nick and Zach were good company. Then Frankie entered, and we talked about Helenies, books, science, etc. He sneezed while cuddling Brittany's dachshund puppy, allergic to cute fur lumps. I flew back to my empty nest momentarily until Clay appeared at the front door. I initiated a hug, but it was nothing like how I imagined it. The light wasn't right. I gave him that wall-eyed Russian doll. Then we stepped into the darkness. At an electric red intersection, he told me about his gay roommate who compared him to Dirk Diggler. At Zach's, we crowded a couch around a laptop and talked about the world's obsession with constant connection. He announced that he deleted his MySpace. Last time I saw it, I was proud to see an old marker portrait I drew, and not much else. He and Nick picked up conversation where I was dry. Like long ago, Frankie always has facts and natural ponderances to dwell on when reference escapes me. Chemistry, Holy Land, everything is terrible. At the end of the night, Clay shared his experience with ghosts as the Cali Babe. I hope that he and I start writing letters. I slept easy that night without a drop of alcohol in my blood. Proud. Was up early with the songbirds next morning. I donned overalls and modified tube socks, rode to Richard's to buy oatmeal and chewing gum, most of the time spent waiting around, kicking the air, wondering if lone strangers like to talk to other lone strangers, with little in common. I felt the urge to sing, but I couldn't think of the right tune, so I made it up. We don't need no machines. We don't need no machines. Played phone tag and wondered what the day would bring. I brought 3 oranges and 1 apple, bottled water and a sketchbook to Zach's on a sunny, lovely noon. The pink walls in his house glowed in the daylight. I could smell cookies baking. Little dogs yapping in a pen outside. Brittany and her brother both barefoot. What are the odds? Zach displayed bad health, coughing, vertigo, general malaise, but he kept a good attitude, knowing he would be a host for a shiny, giggling gang. Frankie showed up with a quart of sliced pineapples and a bag of seed dust for himself. Lee brought sandwich makings and honey for PB and shrooms. It was a small amount because he left some at home, overestimating their potency. It was exciting to pick a pile and carefully sweep the remains into my single piece of honeyed white bread. I danced on the tile floor, glad to have something to look forward to. A psychedelic picnic, no less. Zach talked Sleepy Sun, Botch, and Warlocks. We listened to Regatta de Blanc in the kitchen. Funfetti icing without a lid. Tyler arrived, decided he would have cores and pass on the fungus. So it's only a few who trip, but for the best. There's a brigade of parked cars out front, but they take up a small percent of the yard. An unspoilt land of opportunity, sitting on hot hoods until we find a shady spot under the native trees. From there, the houses and vehicles look small and secondary. Shadows dance as the light continues its gradual transformation. Lee smokes and complains that the mushrooms are weak. Then chats about TV with Tyler and Zach. I mind feeling euphoric and explorative. I choose to walk away from the conversation and have a closer look at the leaves, vines, and peculiar blackened roots. There is no distortion. My vision is clear and receptive. Returning to the circle, I catch the punchline and move my attention to the people around me. I laughed until I couldn't utter a sound, comfortably complacent in a patch of grass, listening to ants crawl. I saw the network of trees become a stereogram. A mild effect. Time seized, but the sun continued its illusion of travel, filling the spaces between with a rich brown color. Later we took a walk to the China Palace, actually a tiny takeout. I got on my bike to pick up some cash at home. That's when the sky unfolded into a panorama of pink and blue, framing purple asphalt along with the curious homes on Wentworth that were once so familiar. I dodged furious machines. The thought of unaware people at the wheel made me wary at the Chinese place. I became charming, almost affable. Jackie and Dean made an appearance, all health and smiles. I said my usual line about college. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. Back at Zach's, Frankie sat by a tree, nearly out of sight as dusk enveloped the evening. Mushrooms bobbed in broth, tofu soup without the tofu. A bloating feast around the kitchen island, followed a share of cookie fortunes. Mine said, if the brain were so simple we could understand it, we would be so simple we couldn't. It was a beautiful day, just what I needed. July 3rd, 2009. Sure, life on the ship was flashy and luxurious. I'm relieved to be back on land because as much as I savored the cuisine and enjoyed being catered to, I can only feel at home within a sparse population, where there's no need to wipe Clorox on every surface or fear being quarantined for a runny nose. Yes, Alaska's wide-open spaces are an antidote to cabin fever. Right now I'm standing on the second-story balcony of Otter Cottage, a quaint red timber rental with fir trees in the yard, Raven territory, and a blissful view of turquoise lake water. Floating below a mighty range of snowy peaks, occasionally a pair of oversized seagulls fly by, but not so much as a plane or boat so far. Wildflowers are vivacious round the rocky beach, down Dusty Road. A colony of campers creates the effect of a village. There are many dogs. A certain half-breed with spots follows our party when we walk to town. That's Buster. Amanda, my cousin, asks him questions as if she expects an interpretable answer. No surprise that she wanted to be a veterinarian, and changed her mind once euthanasia was required. There are more dogs to meet downtown, where white vendor tents prepare tomorrow's celebration smells like a carnival minus the animal feces. I lose my tight-fistedness when I find a Russian folk art shop that sells peace pipes and with wizards and frogs carved into the stems. Ideas for gifts zip through my mind as I compare decorated stash boxes. One purchase led to another. I stopped once I had spent $30 on souvenirs. I can just see their bright smiles when I return bearing stuff. Come on, kitty. There you go. July 15th. Seasons of Change. This morning I upheld my summer routine by trekking to the beach and scavenging for careless people's fast food litter and empty stinking beer cans. I did sweat a great deal, despite leaving my shirt open. Everything had a novel quality, since I was thousands of miles away during the ripening of summer in Florida. Daily rain showers, 90-degree humidity, hot nights, brightest greens and bluest skies. I also witnessed young iguanas crossing the trail. My wristwatch times my journey, 1 hour and 30 minutes, just a beat downpour. A feeling of accomplishment overrides haunting yet petty thoughts of missed opportunities. Not long after I come home, cleanse my pores, have twig tea, Dean joins me, a patient companion, an evolving mind. He is the newest of faces, the first person I visited the day I flew in. We watched bootleg Zappa concert footage and ran about the Obama deception, thanks to my mom, who shouldn't be taxi for long. We make it to the domain of trees for a spicy taco dinner. Neither Mo nor Tim asked me many questions about my trip to the final frontier, but it came up anyway. Zach couldn't make it due to a hangover, so I heard opinions about his money and management, which has become impulsive since an insurance settlement put $60,000 in his name. I hope he listens to Mo and puts it in a CD or savings account. Dean had his first Bloody Mary, plus a taste of homemade rhubarb wine. Drink led to tall tales and true stories. Brett admits to having dealt with head lice for an extended period. Therefore, he's prepared to cut it off. A dream comes back to me wherein the song Almost Cut My Hair played in a dining situation where Brett contemplated the same thing. Mo decided it would be easier for everyone if she cut it then and there. So it would be gradual. Laughter erupts as Brett's locks transform into a feathered mullet in the spotlight. Soon there is a piece of hair amongst empty glasses on the table. There is air of There's an air of intrigue as his appearance changes in front of our eyes. Of our guys. Allie showed up late and was shocked and appalled. I was slightly disappointed until he invited me to stroke the freshly prickly hair the fresh prickly hair that remained. I could tell he was very relieved and happy. His drastic haircut, along with Tyler's trim and beard growth, and Zach's tattoos, mark a new era for us. A summer of surprises, twist turns, other moments. Pink sunset, drive bomb birds versus squirrel, the cat, happy birthday to Jesus, Tim sans beard, Stevie Wonder, kid after dentist, 2 gallons, perfect breezy day. Developments. Clay's in California. I think I'm attracted to Brett, regardless of his vices. With regard to his desire for mindfulness, humble ways.